you ain't close, I can't hear much below. And atom boom, if you're sitting there smiling and nodding my head, sure forget I didn't hear a damn thing you said. 'Cause I don't hear much anymore, not like I used to do. Your lips are moving, your mouth's wide open, don't hear a thing coming out. You ain't never getting my attention at all if you ain't willing to shout. If you don't speak up, don't even bother, gotta take a deep breath, give out with the holler. 'Cause I don't hear much anymore, not like I used to do.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Hudson Valley Knits podcast. I am Amy. I am Memers on Ravelry and Memers66 on Instagram. And this is my post RHinebeck video. And I am currently in upstate New York at my parents' house in a little town called Hancock, New York, right along, that's the Delaware River behind me, the East Branch of the Delaware River. And I think you can see the little hammock. That's my daughter and her boyfriend taking a snooze in the hammock. My daughter's here with me. My son is not here, he's working this week, but we'll see him on Friday. And I'm as happy as I could ever be right now with my family in upstate New York, by the water, with both my children. And the only thing that made me sad this year was my poor husband was so sick ever since we got here a little over a week ago. He's like come down with the flu, and he's actually staying at his mom's, which was good because he didn't get the rest of us sick, but he hasn't really left his bed since we got here. I feel so bad for him. And he wasn't able to go to RHinebeck. So that's sad. So I guess I can talk a bit about how RHinebeck went this year. It was a little odd, a number of big things, just, changes since last year's RHinebeck for all of us and then for me. I want to thank everyone who showed me warmth and love and gave me big hugs, because y'all knew I was missing my friend Sandy, and I really appreciated y'all coming up to me and showing me some love. It was really great. I saw some really beautiful people. So thank you to everyone. I'll throw some pictures at the end. I'll start with some FOs and whips. And this is pretty much the one of the very few podcasts where I show stash enhancement, because I usually don't do that. I don't like to make people that can't afford to buy things they like feel left out. So I don't show my stash enhancement. But for RHinebeck I do, because that's what RHinebeck is a big part of, is buying yarns that you can't usually get your hands on. And that's exactly what I did this year. I also have I went to RHinebeck this year with my friend Lori and her friend Lisa, who I met for the first time. Lori was a friend of Sandy's. I wasn't super close with Lori, but I know Lori through Sandy, and she was helping Sandy's kids go through all her things, and one of the things she helped sort through was Sandy's yarn stash, and Lori picked out some really beautiful things for me. But one of the things I specifically asked for was, I knew Sandy had started a sweater that I had convinced her to buy the yarn for at Vogue Knitting Live almost 3 years ago. That was the last one we went to together. Or actually, it might have been 4 years ago. Yeah. because the last time we went to Vogue Knitting Live, she had already bought that the year before and stopped by to say hello to the designer. And she actually showed it. The last podcast we did together was when we were on our way to Stitches United, or had just come from Stitches United, and I had bought the yarn for this. I don't know if I had started it, but she talked about this sweater, so I wanted to finish it. She never finished it. She got 2 of the sleeves done, and she got part of the back done. And I haven't really gone through it yet. I'm going to finish the sweater I'm working on, and then I'm going to try and figure out where Sandy was and finish this sweater. So she was alternating skeins, very obviously. Here is the yarn that the kit came with. It's like a gold and browns and tans. It is Maggie Knits Irish MK collection. Let me see if I can find this skein. Alright, I'm not gonna. So this is, I think, the back. And yeah, this is the back. I have to do a gauge swatch so I can try and get Sandy's gauge. She was a very, very loose knitter. Very loose knitter. So I'm sure I'll have to go up some needle sizes. It's actually still on her Denise needles, which was her favorite needle. And it has these little design features. They're little folds of like a arty yarn. I'll show you that in a minute. Yeah, but this is the back, and so I'm going to have to read her instructions and notes and try and pick up where she left off, and this will be very special to me because it will be the only thing I have that is at least partially knitted by her, and also represents a wonderful memory that we made together. Going to Vogue Knitting Live, and just how we used to enable each other, like, oh, just get it, you love it. She loved this sweater. Or jacket, really. Let me find the book. So she had to, here's some of the art yarns that went with it in the kit that she picked out. They're gorgeous, really, really luxurious yarns. Some more of them. Let me find the book that should be in here. Yeah. So, what's still even more special, I mean, her kids gave me even the bag she was carrying it in. And they gave me her Notions pouch. This was like her favorite Notions pouch. Our mutual friend Camelini actually stitched the front for her. It's very special. Camelini did not want it. She told me to keep it, so I kept it. But the pattern is from this book by Maggie Knits. She's usually in Vogue Knitting Live in New York. And here is a really good picture of the jacket, Sandy's. It's without this wrap. All right, that wrap is a separate pattern. Right here it is again. Yeah, so this is obviously different colors than what Sandy picked. But this is the jacket. And what's really even beautiful, and what I'm gonna have to kind of try and interpret, if you will, is here is she printed out the instructions for herself, and I have all her handwritten notes and things that notes that she took. Cast on size 8, German cast on, switched to size 7. Sleeves in medium and cast on, 34 stitches, and work DMS for 3 inches, which she wrote is 16 rows. So she took some good notes, so I should be able to really figure out where she is with everything, and so it'll be a really special project to work on. So that's one of my beautiful stash enhancements. I got a big tub of yarn from them as well, a couple of sweaters worth, and some miscellaneous sock yarns, and then I took that and shared some of that with my daughter and with a friend that had not gotten a chance to go to Sandy's house and look through the stash when they were getting rid of it. So yeah, I got rid of like half of that tub, but I did keep this 2 sweaters worth of yarn that my friend Lori held aside for me. So, and a couple of other skeins that actually had, you know, memories attached to it. So, I mean, it's kind of like, I'm kind of like at the happy sad kind of phase, I guess, where I am, you know, really missing her. And I'm sad her life was cut so short because she was such an alive person. I don't know how else. So alive and happy and joyful, and oh, what a beautiful person, and she will be missed. But I have so many wonderful memories from all the yarn journeys and knitting journeys. I mean, really, like we would take vacations together to knit. Like we went down to Vogue Knitting Live, we'd share a room together. We went to the Von Trapp Family Lodge and took a knitting weekend retreat together there with Donna Dracunas. We did so many fun things together. It was just wonderful, wonderful. So I'm very, very grateful, and I'm very thankful that her kids were so generous in letting us share in her stash. And yeah, so that's the Sandy part. So now I guess I will show you my one finished object. It's a Hint of Autumn shawl by Tammy Gore, designed by Tammy Gore, and the yarn is by Lisa Souza. I'll insert a picture, but here's a close-up of the, it's huge. It's a close-up of the colors. So this is color 2, this purple. It is a purple, by the way. And this section here was supposed to be color 2, but I ran out, so I had this teal, and this is actually left over from the socks I just knit for my mom. And then I kind of ran out of the gold, or I wasn't really sure if I'd have enough to do a I-cord bind off, so I had this brown in my stash, and this, which was supposed to be gold, I changed to brown, and I think it came out beautiful. So here is the finished shawl. I did the I-cord bind off. I'm very happy with that. Here's where I did way too many repeats, and it's beautiful and long and soft, and really, really loved it. Loved it, loved it. So that's my second Tammy Gore shawl, and I really love her shawls. Her patterns are great. I'm really happy with the yarns I picked. And I brought it to Rhinebeck, and I showed Lisa Souza, the dyer of the yarn, what I knit with her yarn, and that made her super happy, which I can imagine as a designer or a yarn dyer. Essentially, you're an artist, and to come back and see the beautiful things that people make with what you created, I'm sure brings them much joy. So, Tammy, thank you. I loved knitting this, and the knit along was fun too. So, yeah, I like Tammy Gore. I like her shawls. So that's my one and only finished object, and really, I only have 2 other whips. 2 whips, because I didn't bring much with me. But I did have a pair of socks going. I think I showed you that. I think they had just been cast on, maybe. And I turned the heel last night. So here is my West Yorkshire Spinners self-striping sock with the heel turn and gusset. I'm currently working on picking up for the gusset. I love the colors. So that's been my vanilla knitting. Oh, here comes my mom. Hi, Mom.
I saw you looking like you're talking to your best friends out here.
I am. Want to
and
say
I
hi?
just saw a sock.
Come over here, Mom. Here. You want to sit down?
No. Oh, well, maybe. Hi. I just saw her show you a sock, and I have a sock on that she just gave me as a gift, an early Christmas gift. That she made this sock so special because she knows her feet are like my feet, and they're wide. We walked around a lot in bare feet when we were kids. So anyway, she made the bottom of my sock wider and around my calf wider. Anyway, they're beautiful. So I'm going to put it up on her
Mom,
lap.
be careful.
Hold on. This is it.
They
you
can't see it.
Oh,
Mom,
this is
you're
it.
crazy.
This is it. I can't show you. There's no pattern on the bottom, so she said I won't have any nubbies. And here's the pattern. I don't know how.
Here's her sexy leg.
No. Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you.
I
That
love
was
you.
great. Have a good day. This is beautiful. By the way.
Oh, you want to wrap it around your neck, Mom?
No, go to
Super soft.
I just popped the pork in the oven.
Oh, good. She's making dinner. She go, who? I love my mom. See, that's the definition of knitworthy, isn't it? Is it not? My mom. I love her so much. I'm very thankful to have my mother. She's 82 now, and I'm really lucky to have had my mother this long. Very grateful. So, all right. So I was knitting Kate Davies sweater, which I bought her Malarkey tweed for. As soon as I finished that shawl, I picked this back up. So let me show it to you. I had knit one sleeve, a bit of a ways, and gave it a soak to use as like my swatch. So here's the first sleeve, and for my size, the increases are every 6 rounds. But you knit 6 rounds, and on the 7th round you do the increase. And when I picked up the second sleeve to I like to do 2 sleeves at a time, so I know that they're exactly the same. And I started knitting this, knowing that I had my gauge, and with the intent that when I caught up to where I was on this, I would just knit them both 2 at a time. And I leave the pins in so I know how many repeats I did, and that's a good way to know how many rounds you've done. And I was like, oh, okay, so I have my 6 repeats and plus 3 rounds. So I had gotten that on this one, and I put them both on the same needle, and it was like over an inch shorter than the other. And what I realized I did is, instead of knitting 6 rounds and on the 7th round doing an increase, I knit 5 rounds and on the 6th round did an increase for this one. So it was like 7 or 8 rows shorter, rounds shorter than the first sleeve. So I had to rip it out and redo it. That's not a big deal. But, and I decided, I know I talked about the cuffs being a little tight. I decided to leave them. And if I really, really don't like it, I can, after I knit the sweater, I can just cut these cuffs off and graft a new one on. I've done that before. Yeah, so that's how the sleeves are going for this. And those are my only 2 whips. I currently have no other whips on the needles that I'm actively working on, or at all, I think. I have a couple of hibernating whips. That's about it. I'd really like to start back on the Alice Starmore sweater again. And there's a couple of people that say, when are you gonna start knitting that again? I really want to, so maybe I'll work, instead of casting on another shawl, although I have to say, Stephen West. My God, I'm so excited to knit a shawl that he designed. I don't know why, but I just really, really like it. And I guess I could show you that. Let me see. Oh, so let me show you that. I'd like to knit more on my Alice Starmore, but I really want to also finish Sandy's sweater. And as you know, I always have a pair of socks on the needles. So, like for Sandy's sweater, it's more vanilla knitting, and Alice Starmore is more sitting down and concentrating knitting. It's not knitting that I would take somewhere and knit on. So, I might work on 2 sweaters at once. I don't usually do that. I like to only have 1 sweater on the needle to stay focused on and finish. I guess because there's nothing else, I will show you what I picked up at RHinebeck and how the weekend went. Yes, so Rachel came to New York. She came Friday before RHinebeck. And Mark, as I said, was really, really sick at this point and decided not to go on Saturday. And Rachel wanted to visit some of her old friends, and because of their schedule, she ended up taking my car, because I drove here. She took my car to go to Albany and visit some of her old friends. She lived in Albany for like 2 years after high school, and she had wanted to go up and visit her old roommates there. So she did that on Saturday. And I went to RHinebeck. My friend Lori, that I talked about before, the one who was also friends with Sandy and helped her kids, Sandy's kids, clean out her house, and pulled aside some of Sandy's stash for me. She and her friend Lisa went up to RHinebeck Saturday, and they were nice enough to pick me up at my sister's house. And we stayed together for a little while, and then we split up so we could all do our, shopping thing without holding each other up. And then we got back together again. So it was so nice to be with Lori and her friend Lisa and not feel terribly alone. My friends Solange and Kelly and Susan, other friends that have gone to me with RHinebeck before, besides Sandy, they were all unavailable, and that's fine, So I went with Lori and Lisa, and we had a great time. It was great weather. I would say it was average for a Saturday based on my experience. This is the sweater I wore, and I got a compliment from Jacqueline. Is it Jacqueline? From Brooklyn Knit Folks. She actually came up and complimented me, so I was so flattered, because she's an amazing knitter too. But I actually will send her a link with the colors, because she especially liked the colors I chose for it. So I'll send them to her in case she wants to play around with the same colors. So that was really cool. And I saw my beautiful friend Sharon, who is Moms with Yarn podcast. She hasn't been podcasting lately because she's on this big soap making kit, and she gave me a bar of her homemade soap, which is really cool. So I love Sharon. Sharon and I have not gotten together outside of knitting events, but we always see each other in RHinebeck. And she didn't realize Sandy had passed away. And she also knew Sandy very well. So she was very sad to hear that. And she gave me the biggest hug. It was so good. Sharon, if you're watching this, we have to do something together sooner or later, because you and I have too much fun together, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so I saw her on the hill. I saw Megan, who was just running it, who again is someone I see her. I occasionally watch her podcast. I have to be honest, I have not been spending time watching podcasts lately. The only podcast I religiously watch is Fruity Knitting, and I watch some outdoor, off-the-grid living podcasts, and I watch a couple of political ones. But other than that, I have not been watching podcasts. And so Just Run Knit, I haven't watched that their podcast in a while, but it was great to see her and Linda, who I know watches. Hi, Linda. They're both incredible women who are running enthusiasts. So we talked about that for a little while. I like to run, but I'm not as dedicated as they are, and they're in great shape too. So that was wonderful, and I saw JD, and I saw Millie, and just numerous people coming up and saying hello to me, and Wow Skunk, whose name I really don't know. I just know your Ravelry names, and it was really, really wonderful. And I just want to thank everybody for making it a wonderful Rhinebeck, even though I didn't have my best friend with me. All right, enough jibber jabber. So that was how the day went Saturday. And that is when I did all my shopping. And I didn't think I was going to buy any yarn, famous last words, but and I did buy a lot other than yarn. And one of the things I bought in the book area, which I usually don't go to the book area, and this year I am so glad I did, and I'll show you why in a minute. But one of the things I bought from Merit Bookstore was these Christmas cards, which I bought enough of this will be our Christmas cards this year. Wishing you a Merry Christmas, it says, EWEU. And this was actually another thing from Taproot Magazine, had a booth there, and they gave away a free edition of one of their old magazines. And this has some knitting in it, but also other crafts and sustainable living articles, which has always interested me. So that I was very grateful for. All right. I brought this to Rhinebeck with me, but I didn't wear it. I think I'm going to put it on now because it's getting a little chilly up here. I am cold. This is a cowl that I designed. I can't even remember what I named it. Isn't that terrible? I don't remember the name of my own design, but it's free. It's a free design. And it involves steeking and has instructions for how to space buttonholes. So if you're into that, and it also has 3 different color variations you can use. So yeah, it's a great thing if you want to give stranded knitting and steeking a try. It's a great starting point. All right, so let's get to the actual stash enhancements from Rhinebeck. Okay. So I went to the bookstore area where they have people signing books, and they had one table that actually had yarn, and it was Ocean by the Sea yarn. So I follow her on Instagram. And I think she's from England. And this is her, it is called Quill. And it's a 541 yards of light fingering weight yarn. And this is her Surya Papa Silk lace weight yarn. And it is 328 yards. And guys, this is so much nicer than mohair silk. It is so much softer. And these colors are beautiful. This is a peachy with just a hint of pink, and the color is called Peach Fizz, and this is a beautiful pink. It's just like, it's called Rose Milk, and it's just beautiful. And I haven't decided yet if I'm going to knit something that I'm holding these two things together. By the way, I bought 2 skeins of each. It's very pricey, but I mean, it is worth every penny, because just the dye work, and it's natural dyeing, so that's a lot more work. Oh, it's so soft and beautiful. I really, I was like, if I get this and nothing else, I would be so happy. So I'm either thinking a very simple stitch pattern wrap. It's got to be something around my neck. I really want something around my neck. Obviously, I don't have enough yarn for a garment. Oh, here comes my girl. And hi, Rachel.
Hey, Ma.
How was your nap?
So good.
Oh, so good. Where's the other one? I guess her boyfriend's still sleeping. Oh, I can't find the other one, but that's, oh, here it is. Yeah, so either that or, just something like with a very loose gauge, these 2 yarns held together, which you can't see because it's dark. Or something like Birds of a Feather Shawl by Andrea Mowry, where you have a section of this yarn and then a section in this fuzzy yarn. That would also be beautiful. I'm not decided yet. But this is by far my favorite purchase from RHinebeck this year. I mean, this is just, yeah. Did not feel bad whatsoever buying it, because it's just one of a kind. It's one of a kind. It's not, no, I shouldn't get that because I can find that somewhere else. So the other thing I got that I always love is Angora blend yarn. I love yarns that are wool Angora mixes. I love the bloom, and I love how soft they are. And I see this vendor test designer yarns there every year, and I always say to myself, oh no, that's way too expensive. But this year I invested in enough of this to make a very substantial cowl or wrap out of this Angora blend. So I got 2 50-gram skeins. It's about 400 yards, and it's, I would say, a sport or a very heavy fingering, and it's a little bit felted, but it will relax and bloom, and it's going to be gorgeous. So I got that. Then I got this. So this is really expensive yarn. This is their kitten, which is 65% cashmere and 35% silk, 325 yards. Oh, the smell. So this was on sale, 20% off. Usually this is almost $100. This skein of 100 grams is usually like $85, $90 or something ridiculous, but because it was 20% off, I scapped it up. They had a few on sale, and I guess it has like somewhere on here it's got a dab of dye from a different color. It has like slight flaws, if you will, and I say, who cares? So I grabbed that, and then for the heck of it, I got a silk hanky because I want to try and spin it. I thought of 2 things. I thought I could spin it, or I could pull it the way and just knit from the hank, which I know that so the other thing is I met a wonderful person while her husband over down by the food who was showing me how to spin silk, and then she said I think her knitting nuts or knit nuts, and I can't find her on YouTube or in Ravelry. So if you're watching this, will you please get in touch with me, because she is an avid spinner, more so than a knitter, but she was showing me how to draft silk like this, and she was wonderful and helpful. So I'm going to go home and spin this. It will be knobby and uneven and perfect. And I'm going to make myself another pair of fingerless mitts made entirely of silk. And I can't wait for this. This will get me back into spinning again. And it might not be with the wheel, but that's okay, because I really enjoy spinning on the spindle more than I do spinning on the wheel. But I will continue to begin practicing on the wheel again. Here's the bar soap I got from my beautiful friend Sharon, Moms with Yarn, or Bronx Knitter. You might know her as Bronx Knitter. Yes, so I also got some buttons for future cardigans, and this one here in the middle is going to be for the cardigan I am now working on. They're all wood. This one's a little darker. This might be the one, but I don't think I could find enough of them. This one has 6 though, so. And then this would be for something smaller, but I just love these buttons. Oh, if you can really see them, hold on. You see them? I don't think they're focusing. I'll take some pictures though and throw them in, because they're really beautiful. And you need to see the color. And last but not least, my final, you don't really need this, but I had to buy one more thing, purchase was some more Lisa Souza yarn. It's the same yarn I knit the Hint of Autumn shawl with. And I plan on knitting a 2-color shawl with this. This color is called Quail Ridge. I really love it. And the solid is called Zin. It's a brownish with a hint of purple. Oh, here comes Rich. She's got yarn. So those are all my purchases. I had the Magpie Fiber people were coming around and giving away samples. So I have a sample from that, which is cool. They're nest worsted, non-superwash Coriadale. Very nice, very squishy. Beautiful color too. And this is in the bag that my knitter friends gave me when I moved to St. Louis. They all signed it. And here's my little note from Sandy. Right here, I touch it. It says, "Meet you in St. Louis, knitting bag in hand, heart, Sandy." And on the back, with my beautiful friend Karen, who's an amazing artist, painted a scene from the Hudson River for me to take with me to St. Louis. You have a chair, Rach?
No, but you got yourself a little friend on the ground there. Don't let him scare you.
What? Oh,
Grasshopper.
a little cricket. So Sunday, all right, so Rachel came back late on Saturday with my car, and her and I got up Sunday, and we took our time. We got up there, I think, around noon, and we went to RHinebeck together. Again, Mark and his mom were going to come, but Mark was not feeling well. He couldn't do it, and my brother-in-law was going to bring her up, and she kind of backed out, which was a good thing. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Mom.
I mean,
Hello. I'm not wearing anything.
Knitted.
Actually, I could probably go find my cowl real quick.
Yeah, and it was better that my mother-in-law didn't come because it's rained. Rained enough that it would have been bad for her. She just really wanted to be able to spend time with Rachel. And Rachel's been here since Friday. Today is Wednesday. And she still hasn't had a chance to see Rachel, which is a bummer. But we're going to make time to see her Friday, because we're going to be up here at my mom's today, tomorrow, and we're gonna come back early Friday. All right, so I'm gonna wait for Rachel to come back, and we'll talk about Sunday. Was basically all about her and finding something that she'd like. So we shopped around. It really wasn't too bad. Where's the one you're making? Is that down at Aunt Kimmy's? The cowl you're working on?
Actually, no, I brought it up with me. Let me go grab it.
She also has a Tammy Gore pattern to show you, which I started, but I have to frog it and restart it because I got my front and back mixed up, and I ended up putting the increases on the wrong side. But yeah, Sunday we had a great time. I knew there was something I wanted to get for myself that was a very big purchase, and I decided to go for it because it's exactly what I wanted, and it was this backpack. Let me get out the...
Ooh, and I got a purse to go with it. It's really amazing.
You should get that too, Rachel.
It's only right there.
Where is it? All right. Here is it's a wax canvas backpack. It was $220. That's a lot, but it's handmade. And I'm telling you, it is meticulously done. I mean, not one sloppy stitch or edge, and it is amazing. It's got real leather, really strong, sturdy straps for the back. The leather's a little thin, but it's only a
Here, hold it up for
buckle and loop. Here's the vendor. I would highly recommend her. So this is like a smoky blue with the leather, and then inside is a little pocket and a red lining. And the red lining is also canvas, which is really, really nice. I mean, this is made to last. It's got a little outside zipper pocket, so if you have stuff you want to get to quickly and easily, you can put it in there. And yeah, so like I put my wallet in
And
there.
it's deep too. So
Yeah.
if you got like a big iPhone in your wallet, it'll go right in here. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was a hard choice too, because the other thing I saw that I really loved was,
This guy.
so this is a purse, and I'm like, oh, I love that too. So this was a little less expensive. This one was
I think this one was
$190?
actually, $190, and it's basically the same materials,
Same
exact
colors,
same
too.
thing, but I like these colors. But to give you perspective, it doesn't look like it's gonna hold much, but like, I got yarn in here, I got a makeup bag, I got a clutch, I got my wallet, I got a lot of
Oh, you
random
bought the
stuff
clutch
in here.
too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, let
And
me show you that.
your straps are very nice, thick leather.
Yeah, like
Very sturdy.
there's some purses I've gotten where I feel like the leather isn't going to hold up because I like to carry around a lot of stuff with me if I'm taking a big purse. And this just feels sturdy, which is really nice.
pretty lining too.
Yes. And it's all waterproof, which I don't know if my mom mentioned or not, but this is the smaller clutch that she makes. She had like 15 different designs for these. But the inside is also waterproof, and it's beautiful, you
It's
know?
like almost like a plastic, right?
It feels like a vinyl lining almost.
Yeah, so it's good for makeup and things. You can wipe it down.
It's really fantastic. And in the front here, you got two big pockets. I can fit my phone sideways in there. I actually went to New York City this week, and I just put my phone in here, tucked it in, and it was there the whole time. It felt like a good purse to carry around with me all day.
Yeah.
So it was great.
So that was her early Christmas present.
Yeah.
From mommy.
Do you want me to talk about what I got at the Sheep and Wool first?
Well, talk about what you're making.
So
Or actually, talk about what
I made. So this was actually a really special project for me because I hadn't been knitting in a long time. Something I kind of started while I was still living in New York because, you know, if I make a mistake or I'm having questions, my mom was there. But when she moved out to St. Louis, she gave me my great-grandma's knitting needles and gave me 2 printed out projects to start and yarn to do it with. And I can't remember the name of the pattern, so
It's Tammy Gore, but it's one of her cowls.
but it was the first thing I had made in years, and it was really fun, and it was enough of a challenge for me to be interested in knitting again, and it's by means not perfect, but
I think it came out great. It's Knit Picks
but
chroma, bulky, and it's held together with the Knit Picks mohair silk, whatever that's
So
called.
it's really
Very
really
affordable
soft
too. Yeah.
and very warm, obviously.
Yeah.
But the thing, once she gave me this project, I started looking at other ones online. Obviously, because I love cowls. I've always loved the cowls my mom made me.
Down the rabbit hole she goes.
And speaking of my boyfriend who's waking up from his nap now, he got me this little yarn bowl for Christmas when I started knitting again when I came home from St. Louis. So that just kicked my butt into gear. But right now I'm making another cowl. I can't remember the name of this one either. And I don't have to look at the pattern much because one of the things that was so alluring about it is that it's just a knit and purl pattern.
I think it's from Pearls Soho, if I remember correctly, her showing it to me.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
But to me, this was like something big and bulky, and I'm making it with a lighter yarn because I work in an office, so you know it's not like I need to stay warm in the office, but it's going to be light enough and nice enough for me to feel comfortable. I love knitting with this yarn. It's very thin, but I'm sure
It's
Let me
actually
hear.
Socks That Rock, and it's their silk wool blend. It's 50-50 silk and wool.
I think you can tell
from
who does
Socks
the.
That Rock or Blue Moon Fiber Arts.
But it's so soft, and it's just a simple pattern. It was something good for me to start picking back up on and keep moving with. I have another cowl I made that's back home, but it's actually a similar pattern to the cowl I have here that I made, but it has what are those little bubble things?
Bobbles.
Little bobbles, little bubble bobbles.
Those little bubble thing.
But
popcorn
it-
stitch, some people
But
call
they're
it.
so. I've always loved cowls. I love making them. Really, I tried to make a hat years ago. That was just a disaster. It came out like 3 sizes too small. But anyways, but when we went to Sheep and Wool Festival, I'm feeling ramped up for a sweater or something. I want to try something big that I'm not going to get bored with, because I feel like with this, I get bored easily. That's my thing. If I'm knitting and purling, I'm kind of just like, ugh. I lose that interest. It's not pushing me as much. So I got my pattern for my first sweater I'm going to attempt to make. And it's the May Pullover by Whitney Hayward.
You got it?
Yeah. Teamwork. But it has enough to it to challenge me, and not to mention it's my first sweater. But to be honest with you, everything I found from Nightshade's collection was beautiful. Everything. I wanted all the patterns.
We were looking all day for the right yarn for her to knit a sweater
Yeah.
with. Mostly in Miss Bab's booth, but we just couldn't find enough of one color that she liked to make sweaters that she really liked. And the one we could find enough of, it was fingering weight, and I thought it just wasn't a good idea.
And where my mom says color, what she means is some sort of shade of black.
Rachel likes
I don't-
grays and black.
I save the colors for my eyeshadow or some other stuff I'm gonna wear on my face, but when it comes to my clothing, as you can tell, it's a little more dull. And, well, this is by no means dull, and that's what really attracted me to it. Because when you look from here, you see a black ball of yarn, but she has these beautiful orange undertones.
Beautiful.
And it's like a halo of orange, so it's not like it's not gonna look like clustered pieces of orange yarn. It's just gonna be this beautiful orange halo, almost like the fuzzies of the yarn is orange rather than clumps of it. I loved it, and they had it on display. Oh God, they had so many different patterns on display. They had halter tops, they had wrapped sweaters. It was very impressive, and it's one of the first designers I've looked at, and I've liked every single thing that I saw. But it came with this beautiful tote, another knitting bag, and I got a pamphlet full of the Nightshade collection, which is beautiful. But I'm excited to start doing this. I've been practicing on other yarn because I haven't done cables yet. So
Yeah. So what she's doing is I actually pulled some yarn from Sandy's stash, just some patterns. It's a white and it's a Aran or worsted weight, and she's never done cables or twisted stitches or even knit from a chart before. And I'm telling you, she picked it up like a natural. And so she's gonna do the whole chart, 2 repeats of it in the round on the junk yarn to make sure she's learned the stitches and to get comfortable with knitting in the round and cables. And then she's gonna go with the black yarn. And I told her, I warned her about black yarn, but that's what she likes to wear, so we decided it needs to be something she loves, right? It can't be a yarn or a color that she does not love. And she's going to make sure she's under good light when she's knitting on this, and she's going to knit her swatch in the round and make sure she has the right gauge.
Yep.
Hopefully this week before she goes back, so we can
Yeah.
at
But
least do the
it's
gauge
so much
together.
fun.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll send a video to my mom with some inputs, little diary segments, so she can update you guys on it
Aww.
and let you know if you know someone who's going to start their first sweater, if it's a good choice. At least someone who's in the same boat of getting bored with stitching and purling one
Yeah.
after the other.
Originally, I was thinking she wanted. She fell in love with my. It was an Isabel Kramer pattern. I forget which one, but it's knit from the top down. But instead of doing a crew neck, I did a V neck on it.
Beautiful.
But I kind of just did that myself, and she really wanted a V neck. She actually took it and wore it down in the city.
I did. And it was so warm. Oh my gosh.
And
It's
it was
hot.
made out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, which is a great yarn. All right, so I was thinking an Isabel Kramer pattern would be good for a new knitter because they're not too complicated. They're from the top down, so she could try it on and make sure it fit. So I was looking at yarns with Isabel in mind, because I know she has designs in every gauge, and we would find something that Rachel could knit. But she saw that and she fell in love with it.
Yeah.
She loved the cables and the twisted stitch pattern. It's a yoke pattern, knit from the top down. And
Now, like I said, I don't like things easy. I need a little challenge.
it'll be fine. You'll do it.
I'll be calling up my mom.
I know, but it's so hard to help someone over video.
You know, as a beginner, I would say I'm a beginner because I tried knitting so long ago, and I had her to bail me out whenever I dropped stitches or made some sort of stitch that made absolutely no sense, which I did a lot. I managed to do some weird stuff. But being a beginner and starting, I don't have a knitting group to go to, and it's not because it's not available in Salt Lake, but if you're not from Salt Lake, you can't understand the eye twitch you would get thinking about driving 35 minutes home from work on the freeway and then driving 20 minutes downtown. It's just not realistic for a knitting group. But anyways, YouTube helps. My mom gave me a great book that helped me out with learning the stitches a little bit more in depth and how to fix them. So it's been very doable and very fun.
Do you remember that book? I think it was a Pom Pom
I can find it right now.
It was, I know it was published by Pom Pom. It was a beginner pattern book.
Yeah, I can find it right here.
Okay.
Let me look at my Ravelry library. That's a tongue twister right there, guys. Ravelry library.
Yes, and I gifted her
Ravelry
the May
library.
cardigan. Maybe I'll make it too. Maybe we should make it together.
Okay.
I don't think, I do have yarn I can make. What? Oh.
All right. We're in the library. It's the Knit How by Pom Pom. And I'll pull up the cover for you guys right here when it wants to load.
Oh, it's
it's
down.
pulling up the PDF. Here we go. And after this, I'm going to join my honey inside.
Yeah, after this, we're going to go spend time with our family. It's cocktail get acquainted hour.
We do it right here in New York. All right, this is the title of it. I found it extremely helpful along with going on YouTube. I'm a very, very, very visual person. I need to see how to do it and do it myself to really catch on to it. But that's my take for my mom's podcast, and it's been cool, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you know Grandma came out here and put her foot up in front of the camera?
To show her new socks.
Yeah. This has been great. I want to thank you all. I love you guys, and thanks for being so patient with me over this year full of transitions. And I'm really hoping to get back into the swing of things. Being home has certainly been very revitalizing and good for my soul. And, all right, time for me to go join my family. Love you guys. I'll see you back in St. Louis, all right? Ciao for now. Is something cooking?
Pork.
Oh.
That's better. I was too drunk last night to be doing this crap. Are you recording?
Yes.